Hello, everybody. Today we are going to be talking about dream interpretation, and we are joined by a lovely fan over here. So please don't stare at it too much. It is because it is hot. Welcome to May. Anyway, the first step for any kind of dream interpretation, if you're new to the whole practice and it is something that you actually want to do, is remembering your dreams. So, one piece of equipment that I will absolutely recommend is a notebook of some kind that hopefully you can keep right next to your bed so that when you wake up, if whatever you still remember, you can immediately write down. The more often you do that, the more likely you are to actually remember something when you wake up. So if it is rare for you to remember a dream, don't worry, it is something that you can train your brain to do. Now, a second bit, the whole dream interpretation itself is a bit harder because you need to be quite good at analyzing yourself. And remember that dreams, for the most part, are not very straightforward. Some things are stress dreams, and they will be very straightforward, but normally the kind of dream that actually does mean something to you, it will get stuck in your head for some really random details. If you're just starting with dream interpretation and it's very hard for you to actually analyze your own dreams, one thing that you can do is, if you have a tarot deck of any kind, is do a spread where one position would be a shallow meaning of the dream, what's on the surface. The next position would be a deep meaning of the dream, which is what you're trying to process and you don't just immediately see. And the third position, if you want to add it, could be how to incorporate the dream's meaning into your day-to-day life. What should you do and what should you change? Now, if you're gonna be going toolless, it's gonna be a lot harder. There are some dream meanings that you can look up online, like what does it mean if I'm dreaming that my teeth are falling and things like that. But because we're talking about analyzing your own brain, and everyone's brain is a bit unique, those generic analysis lists won't always fit you. So if you have a dream that got stuck in your head and it had weird details, and you actually want to know what that dream means, write it down. Write down the details that actually stuck with you. And then instead of looking them up online, try sitting with it and try to explain your own dream to yourself. Another thing that you can do is, if you're spiritual and you converse with the spirits on the regular basis, doesn't matter if you're interpreting their answers through your own thoughts or signs or anything like that, you could ask them to help you interpret your dream. And the answer that you're going to produce yourself and the answer that you're going to produce with spirits will sometimes be two totally different answers, and both of them will be equally correct. But if you are spiritual and you can't psychoanalyze yourself very well from the get-go, that will actually help. But I know that a lot of people that want to analyze their own dreams won't necessarily, have a spirit help them, because not everyone is spiritual to that degree. To give an example of a personal dream and my own personal interpretations that I came up with that I had recently, would be, for example, I dreamt that a person that is dear to me, a family member of sorts, was getting me a bicycle so that I can go to college and study 3 things of my own choice that I could get a job from, and so that I can support a family and give birth to the next generation for my husband. Now, if I was to psychoanalyze myself, I would say that I am dreaming this because I feel like I am not fitting into the norm of adulthood. I have education, but I don't really have a job in that field, not anymore. I feel inadequate when it comes to me supporting my own family. And I also feel inadequate because I made the choice to not have children. Now, this is a standard that is mostly set by culture because these are not expectations that any close people to me actually have of me, but it would be how the expectation filters through my own mind. Now, if I asked for spirits to help me interpret this, the interpretation comes out entirely different, which is that they are providing the comfort, aka the bicycle, for me to expand and prosper in 3 directions in my life that I don't need to choose between, and that I am currently gestating or growing or raising the prosperity in said 3 directions of my life. Now, because the dream didn't actually told me my choices, I can't directly compare those whatever dream me choices was gonna make, but the number 3 stuck out to me. So that is also a very valid interpretation, especially considering that birth can be also seen as growing, starting a new project, raising. It is to do with life, and it is to do with living and going up, the same way that death can be a transformation or an end when something is ending in your life or going down. It is not necessarily a literal thing, and not necessarily a literal thing to live up to, but it could also signify a start of something new. And 3 would suggest that there's 3 separate directions of the start of something new, or 3 different directions that we're trying to raise and grow that new in. So that is another interpretation. I wouldn't have come up with this on my own, but the spirits helped me. And here's the thing, I'm getting better at interpreting my own head and interpreting my own dreams, and especially the dreams that need to be interpreted. But it is a work in progress, and it requires you to know yourself, and there is no shortcut. There is nobody that can just sit you down and teach you the art of interpreting dreams the same way that people can't really sit you down and explain an art form to you. It has to come from the inside. You have to learn it yourself and to learn what means what to you. So if you're just starting and something really, really stands out in dreams, write it down, especially if something features prominently, like snakes or ravens or birth or death or losing teeth or running away from something. Write those elements down, especially what stands out to you. Attempt to interpret. Write your interpretation down. The next time when you have a similar dream, compare. Do you think you were correct the last time? Can you apply the same symbology to your own mind, or maybe you were off the other time and now you have more context and the pieces of the puzzle finally start putting themselves together. And you'll have to do this for like every single thing that actually like stands out. So if you finally figure out what running away or what birds mean to you in dreams, or once again, birth, death, losing teeth, moving, talking with specific people, when you figure out what that represents, it's not like you can take that single symbol and apply it to your whole psyche. You'll still have to establish an effectively a symbol dictionary for the rest of the things that you dream often, and it is always a work in progress. Now, you can just look them up online. I have heard of people that actually use ChatGPT by asking the chat AI to tell them what set symbols commonly mean in cultural or psychological setting, and then they compare their dream, or they ask the AI to break the dream down by its themes or by significant elements. That is another way to use it, especially if you're feeling a little bit lost. So some people find that filtering it through something might help them, but in the end, it is, once again, it is not a thing that somebody can teach you. It is something that has to come from you. I made videos, quite a lot of videos, about worshipping demons, talking with demons. If you can get that spiritual help to interpret your dreams, that will make it easier. That is kind of how I got into this, how I pivoted, and how I learned to think about my own psyche and my own symbology. And once again, it is still a work in progress, but now I can also have my own interpretation, and interpretation by the spirits. It's not just sitting on my brain with, what does it mean? Like, I can now brain it out what it means, but I can't just enforce the same model that I use onto another person, and I can't be like, well, this is definitely what it means. But if somebody tells me to break down their own dream, I could be like, well, if I was interpreting it for myself, this is what it would mean for me. But in the end, the interpretation has to come from you. So I know that this is a bit of a wishy-washy video that didn't teach you that many things, except how you can use a tarot deck to interpret your dreams if you really, really, really are feeling lost. But it is one of those things that gets better with practice, and you can't really skip the practice bit, and it is something that you have to do by yourself. I am so sorry, but no video, no book, no, I don't know, influencer, no, nothing can just give you what you need. You have to be able to break it down yourself. It's it's not like baking a cake. It is like an art form, and spirituality and our approach to art and creativity often overlap. So it is just a muscle that you need to train by using it, by looking at it, by working with it. If you have questions about any like specific dreams and you just want my input, leave it in the comments. I can see what I can do to help. But otherwise, just write it down and just really sit with it. Especially if you have repetitive dreams or like repetitive symbology, because eventually you will be able to attempt to say what it means to you, and then to interpret it from that lens, and then to attempt to apply that lens to all dreams that have that symbology, and see whether it works or not. It's a bit of a trial and error sort of process. So once again, the most important thing to start is a book you're gonna put your dreams into, and allow yourself to take that time, to take that time to think, to take that time to try, to take that time to go through trial and error and see what a couple years does to it, because you start off entirely clueless, and a couple years from now you're actually able to interpret your own dreams. And if you really, really, really can't, just source out your symbolism to a deck of cards, or to your spirits, or to dice, or to anything else that already have like set meanings in it, and see how it relates. That is another way to approach it. So thank you for watching. I hope that this helped somebody. Once again, hard subject or no, this channel doesn't do a lot of occult videos, but if you want to know anything about a particular topic, leave me a comment. I see what I can do. And for now, thank you for coming here, and I'm gonna see you again in my other videos. Bye-bye.